off of River Road in Luling, 274 Judge Edward Dufresne Parkway. We are at the Edward A. Dufresne Community Center right next to the Hale-Boggs Bridge. Really a centrally located place for people across the parish to come and enjoy this facility.
1, 2, 3.
As you can see, a great turnout for our ribbon cutting. We're fortunate that so many people have embraced this project. And once again, it's very impactful for our community.
There we go.
We know what's
I'll get a copy of it. She'll get the original.
They're usually like a cover sheet. So that is television. So one of them sheets would get the cover sheet.
Yeah, good. I was gonna say, I don't know which one that is. We actually get to like her things. We just sit on what's presented.
I'm just like, I'm so sorry to bother you. Sheriff's office is nothing to do. Well, what can I do? I've never heard it. But all right, there's some moving for sure.
Good morning and welcome to the St. Charles Parish Budget Hearing on Tuesday, October 29th, 2024 at 9 a.m. in the council chambers in the parish courthouse. Please silence all electronic devices and remove all hats. This meeting is called to order with a prayer and the Pledge of Allegiance from Father Paul Clark with Our Lady of the Holy Rosary Church in Hornville.
In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. From the Book of Psalms. When the Lord brought back the captives of Zion, we were like men dreaming. Then our mouth was filled with laughter, and our tongue with rejoicing. Then they said among the nations, the Lord has done great things for them. The Lord has done great things for us. We are glad indeed. Restore our fortunes, O Lord, like the torrents in the southern desert. Those that sow in tears shall reap rejoicing. Although they go forth weeping, carrying the seed to be sown, they shall come back rejoicing, carrying their sheaves. Let us pray. O God, of your mercies there is no number, and of your goodness the treasure is infinite. We render thanks to your most gracious majesty for the gifts you have bestowed upon us, evermore imploring your clemency, that as you grant the petitions of them that ask you, you may never forsake them, but may prepare them for the rewards to come. O God, who have taught the hearts of the faithful by the light of the Holy Spirit, grant us, by the same Spirit, to relish what is right and evermore to rejoice in his consolation. O God, who suffer none that hope in you to be afflicted over so much, but listens graciously to their prayers, we render you thanks because you have received our supplications and vows, and we most humbly beseech you that we may evermore be protected from all adversities. Through Christ our Lord. Amen. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Father Clark. Budget message, 2025 Consolidated Operating and Capital Budget. Parish President Jewell.
Thank you, Chairwoman. Dear members of the St. Charles Parish Council, I'm pleased to present the proposed 2025 St. Charles Parish Consolidated Operating and Capital Budget for your consideration. The budget reflects our shared efforts to maintain a sustainable fiscal path while continuing to meet the needs of our community. It supports key priorities such as enhancing drainage systems, completing critical levee protection projects, and upgrading major utility infrastructure. The 2025 budget includes $272.4 million in governmental fund expenditures. Significant allocations include $78 million for levee protection, $37.8 million for public works, and $31.9 million of grant funding for various drainage projects. Additionally, projected revenues for governmental funds totaling $169.1 million, with a beginning fund balance of $135.8 million carried over from 2024. In 2019, the parish millage rate was 118.58 mils. By working collaboratively with the St. Charles Parish Assessor, Sheriff's Office, and the school system, we've been able to reduce the parish's total millages to 102.42 mils. My goal is to continue reducing millages with our residents and businesses, creating a favorable taxing environment that spurs economic investment while also meeting the parish's needs. This approach will further position St. Charles Parish as a destination for people to live, work, and play, increasing value within the parish and enhancing our ability to continuing lowering taxes. Our administration has worked diligently since May to ensure that this budget reflects thoughtful decision-making and prudent use of resources. Sales tax revenues, which account for 33% of total revenues, remain strong, driven by industrial expansions expected in 2025. We anticipate another substantial increase in assessed property values, with $253 million added to the parish's overall valuation, ranking us 7th in the state. The budget addresses the needs of our residents by ensuring that the existing drainage, streets, and other essential infrastructure are well maintained, while also prioritizing capital improvements in those areas. This includes funding for projects such as Engineers Pump Station improvements, Primrose and Cousins Bank stabilization, and the Murray Hill Destrehan Drive subsurface project, to name a few. Overall, my budget reflects over $155 million in public works and levee capital projects. At the same time, we recognize the importance of quality of life improvements, ensuring that investments in infrastructure are balanced with the enhancements to recreational facilities and programs, which are important to our community's well-being. That is why my budget includes funding for quality of life projects such as the Ama and Keller Street Park improvements, the East Bank Bridge Park Gymnasium, and a parish dog park. In total, this budget reflects over $16 million in recreation capital projects. The budget also recognizes the hard work and dedication of our parish personnel, who are our greatest asset. To ensure that we keep and attract skilled employees, we have included a 2% cost of living increase to the overall pay plan, as well as merit-based pay raises for eligible staff. I believe the 2022 revisions to the pay plan have paid dividends, and our continued investment in our workforce will ensure that the departments are well-staffed, trained, and equipped to deliver essential services our community depends on. Lastly, I want to express my appreciation to the Parish Council for your continued collaboration and support, as well as the Finance Department and all of our employees for their dedication in preparing this budget. While the lingering effects of major disasters such as COVID-19 pandemic and Hurricane Ida are still present in our day-to-day work, I continue to be impressed by how our directors and employees consistently get the job done. Together, we will ensure that 2025 is a year of progress and continued growth for St. Charles Parish. Sincerely, Matthew Jewell, St. Charles Parish President.
Thank you, Parish President Jewell. Councilmembers Skiba, Commerdale, Fisher, and DeBruyere will not be in attendance for this meeting. Ordinance scheduled for public hearing, introduced at previous meeting. 2024-0201, an ordinance to approve and adopt the appropriation of funds for the St. Charles Parish Consolidated Operating and Capital Budget for the fiscal year 2025. All representatives, after presenting, please remain in the chambers until after the public hearing is satisfied. That would be appreciated. Thank you all for being here. We will begin with the general fund, page 84 in your budget book, account number 001-400-205, District Court, Judge Connie Oquin.
Good morning, Parish President Jewell and members of the council. I am Judge Connie Oquin. I am the Chief Judge for the 29th Judicial District Court. I am here to present this morning our District Court budget, our grand jury budget, and my Division C budget. So we can start with the District Court, which includes our general operating expenses, which cover those expenses for all divisions, as well as central staff that serve to support all divisions of our court and judges. If there are any questions regarding that budget, I am happy to answer those now.
Okay. Any questions on account number 001-400-206? Seeing none. Next account would be grand jury, 001.
Grand jury, this is our account that provides funding. We call our grand jury and impanel our grand jury twice a year. So those cover Venara cost when we are called out, as well as any cost for meals that they require when they are being called to preside over cases for the district attorney.
Okay. Any questions about the grand jury, page 90? Okay, seeing none, we'll proceed on with
Division C. That is my division of court, which covers Division C's personnel and costs and expenses associated with my division. And I'm happy to answer any questions regarding my division and our budget.
Okay. Don't see any questions.
Thank you all. We appreciate your time.
Thank you, Judge Oquin. Okay, next is count number 001-400-208 on page 89, District Court, Division E, Judge Lauren Rogers.
Good morning. I am Judge Lauren Rogers from Division E, and this is my budget, just operating budget for the year, personnel, and other general office expenses. So if you have any questions for me, I'll gladly answer.
Don't see any. Thank you, Judge
All right,
Rogers.
thank you all.
And next, we have count number 001-400-207, which is pages 87 to 88, District Court, Division D, Judge Rochelle Farrick.
Good morning, everyone. Parish President Jewell and members of the council, I want to thank you for supporting our district court as well as my division of court. If you will note, I did work very diligently to reduce the budget from last year's Division D, or actually currently the 2024 division budget. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer at this time. All right,
Don't
thank
see
you.
any. Thank you, Judge Farrick. Okay, account number 001-400-235 on page 91, District Attorney Chasson.
No, I'm not Judge Chasson, District Attorney Chasson. I'm Cynthia Oquin, the accountant for the District Attorney's Office, and Mr. Chasson was called away to Baton Rouge on an urgent meeting that he couldn't get away from, and he sends his regrets for not being here. He'd also like me to convey his sincere appreciation for all the support the council and the parish has given his office in the past to run it efficiently and in the future. Any questions about the budget? I'll be happy to answer.
Okay, I'm not seeing any. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Count number 001-410-100, pages 132 through 133, Sheriff Department. Sheriff Greg Champagne.
Hey, good morning, everybody.
Morning.
So it's almost not correct to say, that this is my budget, because obviously you all know that we receive a millage, which we reduced. Thank you, President Jewell. So these are some expenditures, primarily the cost of prisoners, which state mandates that the parish pay. And just quickly, just going through it, I don't want to too much detail, but most of the top things, the small amounts of money, are the buildings like here on the second, third floor, which are your buildings that we occupy, and the costs are pretty minimal. We've got some construction going on that's looking good, and the bonds and fines office is beautiful. So it's really relatively a small amount of money, and the big thing, obviously, is the feeding and maintenance of prisoners. And since I like to just give you, if you don't mind, just a minute, because I've got some new councilmen here, and I want to explain to you how our situation is a little unique than many other parishes. Under state law, the parish government is actually responsible for the feeding care of prisoners. The sheriff runs the jail under the law, but it is actually the parish's responsibility under the default state of Louisiana law to provide a jail, to feed the prisoners, to provide medical care for the prisoners, et cetera, the light bill for the jail, and things like that. Back in the late 90s, when I first took office, we had a serious issue with jail space on the third floor, and we entered into a cooperative endeavor agreement at the time with Parish President Chris Trigg, with the State Department of Corrections to hold state inmates, and we were able to build our new facility out in Kelowna without raising taxes. We borrowed bonds, which, by the way, I'm happy to say, in probably another 3 or 4 years, they'll all be paid off. We refinanced them a couple of times when the interest rates got better. Anyway, making a long story short, we changed the default situation where the parish government is not the owner of the jail. The law enforcement district, which I operate, actually owns the jail. But we did enter into some understanding that the parish would at least fund a per diem amount for prisoners. But you were able to escape all of the lawsuits that we get from inmates who like to sue. You don't have to deal with any of that. So this deal has probably worked out a whole lot better for the parish than it has for the sheriff's office over the years. So I think you've gotten a pretty good deal on that. If you have any questions, I would answer that. So the budget, we budget for basically the per diem prisoner, a prisoner day in the jail. And currently, we budget for 110, but I'm pleased to say, and this has been one of the most surprising things, in my tenure in office, is that we anticipated back in the 90s that we were at capacity up here at 120 inmates a day. I mean, we had to decide who to arrest at night and how many beds we had to be able to put an overnight stay. We now currently run at around 60, 70 pretrial inmates a day. So, our crime rates have fallen. There have been a lot of pleasant surprises about it. So we're holding probably a third of the inmates that 25 years ago we predicted we'd be holding on a daily basis, which is a great thing. So in the budget, I think you estimate for 110 prisoners, and we're talking about like overnight stays. We arrest a lot of people who maybe there's an attachment, they caught on the street and they have a warrant. They come in and they bail in and out, they're in and out quick. So we're really not counting them, even though there is a little fee for that. But basically, we look at kind of who's not getting out in the overnight stays. And so you budget for 110, but we're operating at around, on average, 80 is the actual number right now, so far this year. So the numbers usually come in better than the budget, and we anticipate that that will be the case this year. So it's not a question of we know exactly how much it's going to be. You estimate it, and we've been consistently less, because obviously you want to estimate, more on the side that you have enough money to do it at the end than not. So that's it. I just wanted to explain that. I know a lot of you are new on the council, and if you want to find out more details about that, I'll be happy to talk to you on the side.
Okay,
So thank you.
Parish President Jewell.
I just want to say that I appreciate the sheriff and the relationship that we have with parish government and I guess the commitment that the sheriff has put forward in kind of operating the jail day to day. As a parish president, I get to go to these parish president meetings across the state and meet with these organizations. And this is a really big deal in a lot of parishes where, especially in parishes that aren't as well off as St. Charles Parish, where it is almost crippling, or it is crippling to their budget. So I just want to say I appreciate the deal that you made, way back when, and that it's working out well. So thanks.
Well, it's a team effort with the district attorney, the courts, and everybody else. So luckily, crime-wise, we're doing pretty well. We're not crime-free, but we'd like to be, and we keep trying for that goal. So anyway, thanks. Appreciate it.
All right, seeing no more questions. Thank you, Sheriff Champagne. Next, we have 001-465220, page 166, Parish Farm Agent, Ms. Callie Zamet.
Good morning, Parish President and council members. On behalf of the LSU Ag Center, I'd like to thank you for your continued support of our services. We do offer the 4-H Youth Development Program, the Agricultural and Nutritional Resources Education Program, and Nutrition and Community Health Programs. Our budget this year is pretty much as a standstill, with a slight increase for merit and cost of living increases for our salaries. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
I don't see any. Thank you, Callie.
All right, thanks.
Okay, account number 001-450300, pages 163 through 165, Community Center, Ms. Anidra Coleman. Okay, I don't see Ms. Coleman, so we're going to postpone this one until either later this hearing or another hearing. We're going to move on to special revenue funds, count number 116, pages 213 through 216, retired senior volunteer program, Ms. Jeannie Araby.
Good morning, council members, Parish President Jew. I will sub for Ms. Jeannie. We have an event going on, which is Triad, where Nidra's also. So I'll stand before you with the 2025 RSVP budget. Try to answer any questions you may have concerning that.
Okay. I don't see any questions. We'll move on to each department. Nope, you're not done yet. She's got 4.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Count number 116-430-251, page 214, federal. Mr. Forey is going to take that one. Any questions on that one? Okay, none on that one. Count number 116-430260, page 215, state. All right, and the last one, count number 116-430270, page 216, local. Okay, Mr. Forey, thank you very much. File number 2024-0201 is now open for public hearing. If there is anyone who would like to come up and speak regarding any of the items we have discussed so far, please do so now. Please state your name and address for the record, and you have 3 minutes to speak. Okay, seeing none, public hearing is closed. Thank you all the previous presenters for being here. Any more council discussion on any of those departments? Okay. Moving on. General Fund, account number 001-400110, pages 70 through 71. Council, Ms. Michelle Impastato.
Good morning. I'm here to present the council department budget. If anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Okay, seeing none. Count number 001-400111, page 72, Council District 1. Ms. Wilson.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. My budget will remain as is. Thank you.
Okay. Any questions? Seeing none. Okay, we're going to skip Ms. Skiba's District 2 budget until another subsequent hearing. Count number 001-400113, page 74, Council District 3, Mr. Pillier.
Thank you, Ms. Chair. Accepted as stated.
Thank you, Mr. Pillier. Any questions?
Is it time to make the amendment?
Are you taking out of your council department?
I'm taking out of the 2024.
You can go ahead and do that.
Do that now?
You can.
Thank you, Ms. Chair. I'd like to amend my 2024 budget for funds not used, and if that would be these accounts. I can read them out, but if the account numbers are listed, 422-0000, for $2,900. Now, this is debiting my account, and it's going to move into the general account. The next one would be 4241-0000, $5,600. The next one is 420000, $3,400. Next one is 425-00000, $700. Next one is 427-00000, $1,600. The next one's 428-00000, $2,000. Next one's 4305-0000, $6,000. The next one's 431-00000. This all amounts to $23,700, which I will not spend in this year. And so we mentioned where the movements are going to go?
Yes.
Okay. I propose that after these funds have moved to the general fund, that we then transfer from the general fund to a different fund for a specific purpose. This first one would be a motion to transfer $13,700 from that to Fund 112, which is drainage, account for improvement other than buildings for the purpose of maintaining banks of the Cypress Lakes Country Club, that's Ormond Golf Course. Those are drainage conveyance ponds, and they need to be maintained. That's the grass cutting and just general maintenance. The next one, this is somewhat more just an issue that I realize other districts may have some problems with funds, and it's more symbolic than anything else, but a motion to transfer $5,000 from the general fund to, again, Fund 112, account improvements other than buildings for the purpose of River Park drainage improvements. That's in your area, Ms. Wilson. And then also, that's motion to transfer $5,000 from the general fund to Fund 112 again, account improvements other than buildings for the purpose of 4th Street, Oak Street, Diane Place Pump Station. However it's going to be used, whether that's engineering or whatever. That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Pillier. Do I have a second? Okay, we have a motion by Councilman Pillier, second by Councilwoman O'Daniels, to amend the proposed budget, and I'm going to repeat that, to transfer $23,700 from account number 001-400-113, Council District 3 budget as follows, from account number 422-00000, $2,900, account number 421-00000, $5,600, account number 4242-0000, $3,400, account number 4250-0000, $700, account number 4200-000, $1,600, account number 428-0000, $2,000, account number 4305-0000, $6,000, account number 431-0000, $1,500, to Fund 001 General Fund for the purpose of reallocation to other funds as follows. To transfer $13,700 from General Fund 001 to Fund 112, improvement other than buildings for the purpose of maintaining the banks of the Cypress Lakes Country Club Ormond Golf Course, drainage conveyance ponds. To transfer $5,000 from General Fund to Fund 112, improvements other than buildings for the purpose of River Park drainage improvements, and to transfer $5,000 from the general fund to Fund 112, improvements other than buildings for the purpose of 4th Street, Oak Street, and Diane Place pump stations. Okay, council members, we can cast your votes. And that passes unanimously. Okay. Moving on, account number 001-400-114, page 75, Council District 4. Councilman Commerdale is absent, so Council District 4 will be deferred to Thursday, October 31st, 2024 budget hearing. Account number 001-400-115, page 76, Council District 5, Councilwoman O'Daniels.
Thank you, Ms. Chair. I am keeping my budget as suggested by the administration for 2025. I'm going to, that budget reflects reductions for health insurance and other expenses that I do not need. I'm going to reserve my right to transfer those funds at a later date, a later budget date, for the use of community services. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Any questions? Okay, seeing none, we're going to move on to account number 001-400-116, page 77, Council District 6, Councilman Fisher. Council District 6 will be deferred to Thursday, October 31st, 2024 budget hearing. Council 001-400-117, page 78, Council District 7, Councilwoman DeBruyer. Council District 7 will also be deferred to the Thursday, October 31st, 2024 budget hearing. Let's see, okay. Count number 001-400-118, page 79, Council Division A, Councilman Mobley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I belong to the RSVP Advisory Board, and last week we had a meeting, and they were complaining, not complaining, that's not a nice word. They were concerned that next year, for some reason it's changing, they're not going to have the money to do their little traveling trips to, historic sites and casinos. They're not going to be able to afford the cost of the buses. So I amended my budget, or I intend to amend my budget, to put some money into this account for them to be able to travel. I believe the volunteers, they participate, they should be rewarded. So, it's a motion to transfer $22,600, and I have an attachment for each account that it comes from attached. I'm not going to read all of that. From the general fund 001-400-118 Fund 116, account 116-430-251 for the purpose of participant travel. That is that account number. And any questions? Everything good?
Thank you, Councilman.
Yeah, and I'm glad we was able to deliver that message, and you were present. I'm the one that delivered the message about the new path forward to RSVP into primetime seniors. Nothing is going away, especially our great volunteer program. So we appreciate the funding to reward those volunteers and their efforts throughout the year by traveling to different places, museums, restaurants, and do the things we all normally do. We're really excited about that. And just to touch a little bit on that, we used to get a federal grant with AmeriCorps, which was about $64,000. That only represented 17% of the budget. A lot of the funding was coming from the general fund. AmeriCorps' grant also forced us to monitor St. James, St. John, and St. Charles. Now, with primetime seniors, we focusing strictly on St. Charles Parish seniors, their social well-being, their physical well-being, and their mental well-being. Not just a volunteer program, a full program to enhance that senior population that is growing every day, especially here in St. Charles Parish. Our average age 20 years ago was 34 years old. Today is 38 and a half. So we have about 13,000 seniors, 55 and older, that we can affect with these new changes and get them involved more in our community. Actually, it's larger than our youth population when you look at it. So we actually have somebody that's going to focus on that population, that age group, and we look for bigger and better things to come. But we appreciate the transfer. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Forey, for your comments. That's all.
All righty.
Thank you, Mr. Forey and Councilman Mobley. We have a motion by Councilman Mobley and a second. Oh, I'm sorry. No, go ahead. Go ahead,
No, I'm
Parish
sorry.
President Jewell.
No, I'm sorry. I think Dwayne covered it in so many words there, but just wanted to mention that there was nothing going to be, nothing was changing with the programming from RSVP. So the same things that they're doing now, they will be continuing to do just under this new program.
Thank you, Parish President Jewell. Okay.
Madam Chair, it's actually going to
Yes.
116,432.70 local, not federal. That's the only change in RSVP.
70,
Yeah.
okay. Thank you for clarifying that, Mr. Dewsome.
Same thing.
Okay. We have a motion by Councilman Mobley, second by Councilwoman Wilson, and I'm going to repeat that motion as corrected by Mr. Dewsome. Motion to transfer $22,600 from General Fund 001-400-118 to Fund 116, account number 430270, for the purpose of participant travel. And are there any, no more questions? All right, council members, you can cast your votes. And that passes unanimously. Okay, account number 001-400-119, page 80, Council Division B. And that one is mine, council members. I'm not making any changes at this time. Ask that you would accept it as it is presented to you. Thank you. Any questions? Seeing none. Count number 001-400-310, pages 94 through 95, Parish President Jewell.
Thank you, Chairwoman. Presenting my budget as is, and appreciate your support.
Thank you, Parish President Jewell. Any questions for Parish President Jewell? Okay. Seeing none, we are going to do a quick public hearing. File number 2024-0201 is now open for public hearing. If there is anyone who would like to come up and speak regarding any of the items that we have discussed so far, please do so now. Please state your name and address for the record, and you have 3 minutes to speak. Seeing none, public hearing is closed. Any council discussion on departments that we've covered thus far? Seeing none, we'll move on. Special revenue funds, count number 102, pages 178 through 179, Parish Transportation. Mr. Bingham.
Thank you, Ms. Chair. Thank you, council members. I'm here to represent the budget for this topic, and we take any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Bingham. Any questions on count 102? All right. We'll move on. Count 112, pages 190 through 204, roads and drainage. Mr. Bingham. We're going to go ahead and cover.
You're gonna finish me?
We're going to finish you. We're
Okay.
doing
I was going to step
by
out of the way.
prisoner.
No problem.
Okay.
Same as it, this is our roads and bridges, our roads and drainage section, and I would appreciate your support.
Thank you. Council members, any questions on account number 112? It usually would be the particular department after on the agenda. I know. Okay, seeing none, we'll move on. Count number 112-410740, page 191. You can do it in these right here.
Is this the time to make amendments? No.
Not that one. Gotcha. When we get to this one. Okay.
So we're on flood control now.
112-410740, page 191, flood control, Mr. Bingham. Thank you.
Yes, I'm here to represent flood control. If you have any questions, please.
Thank you, Mr. Bingham. Anyone have any questions on flood control? Page 191. Okay, seeing none. Account number 112-420210, pages 192 through 194, paved streets. Mr. Bingham.
Thank you, Ms. Chair. This is our paved streets. We've been doing really well in this area, and I would appreciate your support in our continuing that effort.
Thank you, Mr. Bingham. Any questions on paved streets? Ms. O'Daniels.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Chair. Mr. Bingham, do you have an estimate of how many streets in St. Charles Parish are not paved? Do we have unpaved streets?
We do.
Okay.
We have, I believe we have 7 that are either gravel, grass, or whatever, and then we have 1 that is not really what I consider a paved street. They consider brick, and there's 1, and that happens to be in one neighborhood, and it's more decorative than anything else.
Okay. And is there anything in here scheduling to upgrade those streets to a paved street?
It is possible to do it with the funding in this area. Right now, I've got a program where we're trying to go out and investigate those streets. It's not as simple as putting asphalt over the existing gravel that is there. You need to make sure that you have a proper base for that asphalt. It may require us taking out all the gravel, digging deeper, putting the gravel back, and then paving over that. So we are looking at that. We've cored a lot of those streets, and we are moving forward with that process.
So for the purposes of the budget, this is where we would look. This is where the funds would come from at one point.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. O'Daniels. Any other questions on paved streets? Okay, seeing none. Count number 112-420230, pages 195 through 196, sidewalks and crosswalks. Mr. Bingham.
Again, this is our sidewalks and crosswalks budget items, and I appreciate your support of this. And we don't do sidewalks like Paul Mallard if the parish does them.
Okay, any questions for Mr. Bingham on sidewalks and crosswalks? Okay, seeing none, we're going to move on to account number 112-420260, pages 197 through 198, drainage. Mr. Bingham.
This is probably our biggest item on the agenda, so I would appreciate your support on this. We've been making some great improvements in this area, but we still have more to go.
Okay, council members, any questions for Mr. Bingham on drainage? Those of you that may have motions may want to do it at this point. Ms. O'Daniels.
All right. I'd like to make a motion, a budget amendment, a motion to transfer some funds into your account.
Thank you.
So I'd like to make a motion to transfer $475,000 from the general fund 001 to fund 1112 account. And I believe Grant refers this to A&E, but that's architectural and engineering, for the purposes of improvements related to 4th Street, Oak Street, and Diane Place pump stations. And I appreciate the council's support on this. As everyone knows, those areas were inundated by floodwaters. We're looking to investigate solutions to those a little bit before we get a chance to get those pump stations in, which is sometime down the road. So I appreciate y'all's support.
Okay, thank you, Councilwoman O'Daniels. We have a motion by Councilwoman O'Daniels on the floor. Do we have a second? Councilwoman Wilson seconds it. I'm going to repeat that. Councilwoman O'Daniels would like to transfer from the general fund in the amount of $475,000 to account number 112, improvements other than buildings, engineering for improvements. So it's actually account number 112, engineering, not improvements other than buildings, because you want engineering monies. it's not construction funds, correct, Ms. O'Daniels?
Correct, motion as stated, yes.
Okay. So then let's repeat that. Transfer from general fund in the amount of $475,000 to account number 112 for engineering for improvements related to the 4th Street, Oak Street, and Diane Place pump stations. Let's see. All right, council members, you can cast your votes on Councilwoman O'Daniel's amendment. And that passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Okay, Councilwoman Wilson.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to make a budget amendment to transfer from the general fund to a different fund. Motion to transfer $450 from the general fund 001 to Fund 112, account A&E, for the purpose of engineering for jacking boards in Hornville 2 watershed.
Thank you, Councilwoman Wilson. We have a motion on the floor from Councilwoman Wilson, needs a second. Councilman Pilier seconds it, and I'm going to repeat that. It is a motion to transfer $450,000 from General Fund 001 to Fund 112, account Architectural and Engineering for the purpose of engineering for jack and bores in Hornville number 2 watershed. All right, you can cast your votes. Motion passed unanimously. Councilman Pilier.
Thank you, Ms. Chair. I'd like to make a budget amendment to transfer funds from the general fund 001 to a different fund for a specific purpose. Motion to transfer $300,000 from general fund 001 to Fund 112, again, account improvement other than buildings for the purpose of cleaning cross culverts from the Homeless Canal to Armand Weir in Lake One and associated bank stabilization. It's a bidirectional culvert, and it's pretty important for both of the sides of the watershed, both pumping systems. I'd also like to propose a budget amendment, make a motion to move and/or utilize funds within the same account for a specified purpose. This is motion to move $100,000 within Fund 112, account architectural engineering fees, carriage canal widening, to Fund 112, account architectural engineering fees, Armand Oaks Channel, to be utilized for the purpose of design of conveyance to stabilize ditch banks. Also, a motion to move $300,000 within Fund 112, account architectural engineering fees, carriage canal widening, to Fund 112, account improvements other than buildings, Armand Oaks Channel, to be utilized for the purpose of design of conveyance to stabilize, for the purpose, I just got a typo, for the purpose of performing some testing on a proposed option for correcting this problem that we have. And that's all I have. Appreciate your support.
Thank you, Councilman Pilier. We have a motion on the floor by Councilman Pilier that needs a second.
Point of order. Point of
And
order.
Mobley seconds it.
Point of order, Ms. Chair. There were 3 different motions in that one. Is it possible to split those up, or would you read them back and we can?
I'm about to, now that I have a second.
Individually?
We're not going to vote on them individually. We don't have to vote on them individually.
Okay, I'm just checking because there's 3
Is there
different
an
things.
issue?
No, there's no issue. I just,
Right.
point of order.
When it's the same council member, you can vote on them together.
Okay, that's fine. It's just,
if there's not an issue with.
Okay.
Okay. Mr. Dewsome, are we okay on general fund balance?
Yes.
What's remaining at this point?
Hang on, let me tell you. I was just playing. But we're still in good shape. Hang on.
Okay. I'm just asking because I know there are some council members not here, and.
Like at 2,482,000 right now. After this.
Ms.
That's
O'Daniel?
above the 7 million.
Do you want to?
I guess the point of order is that one of Councilman Pila's was actually from the general fund. Two were transfers from within.
Correct. So
Inter-transfers, so they would not
the only hit
reduce.
would be 300,000 from
Correct.
that. The
So-
other was within, so it's not adding to the budget. The second two were just moving from.
Right.
Thank you.
So we're good on?
Yeah, you can do it all as one, yes.
No, I'm just meaning on,
Oh, general
The
fund.
balance,
Yes, yeah,
right.
I'll start waving my hand if we get to.
yeah. I'll check with you every now and again. Okay.
You see him fall out of his chair.
All right. So we do have a second from Councilman Mobley. I'm going to repeat this. It's budget amendment to transfer $300,000 from General Fund 001 to Fund 112, improvement other than buildings for the purpose of cleaning cross culverts from Homeless Canal to Ormond Weir in Lake One and bank stabilization. Then there is a motion to move $100,000 within Fund 112, architectural engineering fees, Carriage Canal widening, to Fund 112, architectural engineering fees, Ormond Oaks Channel, to be utilized for the purpose of design of conveyance to stabilize ditch banks. And the last one is motion to move $300,000 within Fund 112, account architectural engineering fees, Carriage Canal widening, to Fund 112, improvement other than buildings, Ormond Oaks Channel, to be utilized for the purpose of design of conveyance to stabilize ditch banks. All right, council members, cast your votes on the Councilman Pila's 3 proposed amendments. And that passes unanimously. Okay, Councilwoman O'Daniels, you have requested to speak? Is that your point of order? Oh, I gotcha, okay. All right. I am gonna make a motion now on behalf of Councilman Fisher, who is not present. Councilman Fisher would like to transfer $750,000 from General Fund 0001 to Fund 112, account 420260 drainage, improvement other than buildings for the purpose of Phase 2 engineers canal bank stabilization. Okay. Councilwoman O'Daniels.
Thank you, Ms. Chair. Miles, what's the total cost for the Phase 2 of engineers bank stabilization?
I don't have an actual number, rough number, $3.5 to $4 million. Sheet piling is a fairly expensive process. However, what we have done in the past on projects like this is start putting money into an account so that we build the money over time, so that we can use it when we need it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. O'Daniels. It's my understanding that Councilman Fisher spoke with Parish President Jewell and Mr. Dewsome about this ahead of time?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
okay, great. So I have a motion on the floor, needing a second. Thank you, Councilman Pilier. All right, I'll repeat that. On behalf of Councilman Fisher, it's a motion to transfer $750,000 from General Fund 001 to Fund 112, account 420260 drainage, improvements other than buildings, for the purpose of Phase 2 engineers canal bank stabilization. All right, council members, you can cast your votes. And that passes unanimously. Okay, any other questions on drainage or motions? Seeing none, thank you. We're going to move on to account number 312, pages 237 to 238, Go Mesa Construction Fund. Mr. Bingham.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Chair. This is our Gomesa account, and we have several projects in there, and we would appreciate your support of that.
Thank you, Mr. Bingham. Any questions, council members? Seeing none. Oh, Mr. Pillier.
Just real quick, you've got about $3 million for the King and Han Street drainage improvement. Is that a sufficient level to get that done?
We believe so. There was actually, that project was more expensive, but we managed to work out a deal with a property owner, which allows us to do a ditch where we would have had to do box culvert instead. So we feel like the number is adequate.
Thank you,
Mr.
Hill.
Bingham.
All right. Thank you both. All right, council members. Any other questions on Gomesa Construction Fund? Seeing none. Mr. Bingham?
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for being here. All right, moving on. Account number 105, pages 180 through 182, Road Lighting, District 1. Mr. Tassan.
Good morning, Parish President Jewell, members of the council. Appreciate your support for 105. I'm here to answer any questions you all might have about that.
Thank you, Mr. Tassan. Any questions for Mr. Tassan? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to get all your departments while
All
you're
of
up
them?
here.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Count number 114, pages 211 through 212, mosquito control. Mr. Tassan.
Yeah, thank you, Ms. Chair. Again, I appreciate your support for the mosquito control budget, and I'm here to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions about mosquito control? Seeing none, count number 450, pages 269 through 272, solid waste collection and disposal. Mr. Tassan.
Thank you, Ms. Chair. Again, I'm here to answer any questions about solid waste and disposal.
Okay, any questions on solid waste collection and disposal? Count 450. Seeing none, count 450-420430, page 270, solid waste collection and disposal. Mr. Tassan, the details.
What's that?
One's the combination and one's the details.
Oh,
It's
okay, gotcha. Again, I mean, I'm here to answer any questions y'all may have about the detailed portion of it.
Any questions, council members, on page 270? Yes. This is under special revenue tab. Good. All right, any questions? We're going to move on. Count number 450-420435, page 271, recycling. Mr. Tassan.
Yes, we took recycling out. We had a budget for $150,000 for it. We weren't using it, so we decided to take it out. If we want to bring it back in, we would need to request significantly more than $150,000. That's all I have with that. If any of you have any questions.
Mr. Pillier.
Yeah, Mr. Tassan, thank you, Mr. Chair. I've heard varying things about recycling, from the impracticality of doing so because we can't really truly get rid of it, and nobody wants the stuff, and then it ends up in a landfill.
Yes, sir.
Can you actually speak to that? Thank you.
So I would have to get more information for you and get back with you about exact details about.
I can speak to it. I've become a recycling expert over the years. So we actually, when we brought in River Birch and we did the RFP for proposals, we put an addendum in there or an ad alternate for a curbside recycling program. Previously, when I came to office, actually right before, in the end of 2019, the parish had bins out, dumpsters at the East and West Bank Bridge Parks. And prior to that, they had bins even as, spread out throughout the parish. we were paying a significant amount of money for people to go and throw their recyclables in there, but people were also throwing in crawfish heads and mattresses and everything else you could think of. And with recyclables, once they become quote-unquote contaminated, they don't wash them off, they bring them straight to the landfill. So we were, in a sense, just putting dumpsters out across the parish to be filled up, to be also brought to the landfill. So I think wisely, the previous administration at the very end of 2019 decided to pull that out. And again, we added it as an alternate to bring curbside recycling back to the parish. We haven't had curbside recycling since Hurricane Katrina. That was going to be, in addition to the increase in garbage, was going to be a $7 addition for curbside recycling. This was in the midst of COVID and everything else going on. We didn't think it was a wise choice. And from looking at participation rates across Louisiana, you get less than 50% of people participating. So 100% of people would have to pay $77 more a year for less than 50% of people to participate. The problem that we have is that there is no recycling facility in Southeast Louisiana anymore that is going to take our recyclables, because the market from China is no longer viable. So China is taking European recyclables. It's treated as basically as an input, like a raw material. And the better and cleaner your raw material is, the better it is in your process. American recyclables need a lot more processing before they can get to a usable state. So the nearest recyclable facility where our recyclables would have to go to is in Baton Rouge. So the trucking cost, as you can imagine, is quite expensive, and that's why we no longer have it.
Thank you, Parish President Jewell. Councilman Pilier.
Thank you, Mr. Jewell. Thank you, Mr. Chair. They appreciate the explanation. I have had residents ask me about this, and I didn't have a very plausible answer. I do remember the bins. I used to bring my stuff over there all the time. I saw engine blocks in the, recycled, including all kind of other things, so I can appreciate the difficulty. And by the way, as I recall, the Recreation Department had to go and sort through all this stuff. It was a mess. But the fact that it doesn't do any good to collect it, you got nowhere to bring it, it costs you more to process it, it answers the question for the residents who are interested. Thank you very much.
Okay. Any other questions for Mr. Tassan on recycling? Thank you, Mr. Tassan. Moving on, special revenue funds, account number 123, pages 218 through 219, flood protection. Mr. Sholey. 218. It's pages 218 through 219.
Thank you, Madam Chair. If I may, I'd like to start on page 219 and then drop back to 218. If you look at page 219, for the projects are included for 2025, you see the Cousin pump station, and it says relocation of sewer lines. This is the T-wall system, frontal system being built at Cousins. But also, there's included 5 sewer lines, force mains that have to be relocated. That also includes a sump enlargement, where we're increasing the sump capacity of the station to roughly just a little under 4 acres. If you notice here, it's $5 million, but we've been told by CPRA through the efforts of President Jewell that likely we'll receive $16.5 million in third quarter of this year to apply to this project. So we have not received that revenue yet, but this is a $19.1 million project. So this is the funding that we're asking for. This currently is $5 million. The second that you notice is the Engineers Canal Pump Station for $11 million. Then you see the Muntz 267 Pump Station, which is pump station number 1 by the CN Railroad. Muntz Pump Station, the 340 CFS station, which is number 2 down by the KCS Railroad. And then the Sunset Auto Bar Screens and the Sunset Pump Station upgrade. The upgrade of the Sunset Pump Station includes replacing the pumps, gearboxes, and engines. That particular project will be depending, as far as it going forward, that will be dependent upon what the prices of the other 3 come in on Engineers Canal and the 2 Muntz pump stations. And do you have any questions on this particular sheet?
Council members, any questions on page 219? Mr. Pillier?
Thank you, Ms. Chair. Mr. Sam, I see a lawsuit settlement for flowage easement and expropriation for about $1.5 million. Can you give us a little insight on what that's about?
Where are you on the sheet?
Down toward
Other
other
fees.
fees, about the fourth item.
Yeah, I mean, that money's been held in account there in the sense that we still have lawsuits, like pending, for example, on the Willowdale, on the levee systems that they're pending lawsuits have been going on for 10 years or so. So this money has been held in an account for this length of time for attorney fees and settlement. In fact, it's kind of been revived and ongoing right now relative to that lawsuit. When we built the Riddle Ridge levee system, that land was expropriated over 10 years ago, and that suit has never been settled. But it's kind of been reawakened a little bit as of late.
Great. Parish President Jewell?
Oh, Chairwoman, I was just going to say that if we wanted to get a detailed assessment of that and get y'all up to date, we could work on an executive session or something where we could talk a little bit more, but I didn't.
So we had a levy committee meeting, I guess, earlier this year. I don't guess that was included as part of it.
No, I don't, because of the litigation's ongoing. I mean, I think the more appropriate place would be just an executive session.
Executive session.
But Mr. Sam summed it up fine.
Right.
Yeah, it's just money they've been holding there in order to pay the settlement for all these 10 years. But again, that's something that President Jewell and Mr. Corrigan really need to explain.
All right.
Now, if you could, we'd like to drop back to page 218 if there's not any questions here. And the reason I point out these 3 pump stations, I'll explain it when we get back to page 218. If you look at page 218, if you look at operating services, where it says electrical and natural gas, and then you drop down to materials and supplies where it says vehicle supplies and miscellaneous. What these expenses are expenses for the outer pump systems. There are 14 outer levee pump systems as part of the outer levee system. When the millage was passed back in 2018, within the millage, it was anticipated that as these stations were built, that the cost of maintaining them would become quite extensive and be somewhat of a burden on the 112 drainage account. So what we've done this particular year, we've allowed $2 million in expenses for the 14 outer levee pump stations. 3 of them you just saw on the other 2, on page 219, which was the Engineers Canal Pump Station, in months 1 and months 2. Anticipated expenses on those. And then the other 4, there's 7 pump stations on the east bank and 7 pump stations on the west bank. The outer levee system includes West Shore, which is where the 2 pump stations are being built, and then the east bank vicinity, which is Trepanier and Cross Bayou and the Walker-Alameda hydraulic stations. And then on the west bank, it's the Willowdale pump station, the Cousins pump station, Kellogg, Ellington, and the Magnolia pump station. There's and Sunset. So there's 14 pump stations. This particular line item will be ongoing. It's the first year that we've added it, but it will be ongoing for the duration of the millage, which ends in 2044. So it's something that it's time that it needed to be done. It also, by funding the outer levee pump stations, the millage gives us the authorization to fund the outer levee pump stations, which are the 3 we have on the other side, and the millage gives us authority to also to operate them and maintain them. So this applies strictly to the 14 outer levee pump stations as defined by the federal system and the CPRA state master plan. So that's what these expenses are.
Okay, council members, any questions on page 218? Ms. O'Daniels.
Thank you, Ms. Chair. I apologize, Mr. Sam. I have a question going back to page 219.
Sure.
Yes. The Sunset Auto Bar Screen Project and Sunset Pump Station Upgrade Project, you said both of those were dependent on what numbers coming in?
The Sunset, the Auto Barn Screen project is ongoing right now.
Okay, that's
Yeah,
what I
the test
thought.
piles have been driven, they actually started cleaning the canal,
Right.
or widening the canal.
Mhm.
So that project's ongoing. The pump station upgrade, our hopes are to do the project later this year, but we want to see what the funding, what the actual bids come in on these other three stations. Depending on what those bids are, costs have been coming in extremely high. If you look at the bar screen project, it came in $2 million over bid, and we only had 3 bidders. So our concern is the cost of construction for the more technical projects, the one that requires large cranes and driving piles and batter piles and that type of thing are quite extensive. I mean, if you look at months 1 and months 2, we have to, in order to stabilize the levee system, we are required to drive 60-foot sheet piles along the toe of the levee. And then when you get down to months Pump Station 2, the geotech was such that we have to put in a whaler system and drive plumb piles and batter piles. The batter piles are 112 feet long. So the cost of building these stations is increased by the millions and millions of dollars. And you can see the cost that's here. The anticipated cost of these 2 stations have gone up $6 to $7 million since we first started design. And so that's why I say Sunset may or may not go to bid later this year.
But that answers my question. I misunderstood, because I thought the bar screen project was ongoing, and
It's-
excuse me. But, no, thank you.
All of these projects are critical, but we had to rank them.
Absolutely.
And the Sunset Station is running well. The engines and pumps are running well. We have a spare gearbox that we didn't have before. But it's still a manned station. It's not automated. It's it's critical that we automate that station in order to be able to better flood fight during hurricanes and that type of thing.
Right, correct.
But it is running well. I don't want to send a message that it's not.
Right.
But it's aged and it's manned. And, we'd like to automate it. And
Well, thank you for clarifying that. Appreciate it. Thanks, Mr. Sam.
But I do want to make the point that this O&M is going forward from year to year. It's not a one-time thing.
Okay. Any other questions by council members? I'd just like to say that the millage was passed in 2015. I was one of the people who worked on the wording for the millage. It does include the operations and maintenance for pump stations on the outer levee systems, not inner drainage. That's definitely not included. So it is appropriate that these changes are being made. They actually could have been made before now. But this will help place them in the appropriate place where there is revenue to cover those expenses and help free up monies in drainage, 112, Public Works, for interior drainage projects.
Yes, and I don't know if Mr. Matt cares to speak to this, but I think we plan to come back and codify these 14 stations.
Yeah, and I just want to say I appreciate Mr. Sholey in his work in working with me to make sure we produce a budget that is that really tries to touch on and maximize our potential in this area. And one of the things that we talked about were potentially bringing an ordinance to the council that codifies the stations that we are considering outer levee pump stations. That way, in the future parish presidents, future councils don't try to manipulate that thought process. So it's something that we'd hope to bring before the end of this year, just to have it codified for 2025. And we will work with you all on that and get your feedback on that as well.
Thank you, Parish President Jewell. Councilman Pilier.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd just like to thank Mr. Sam and the parish for doing the things they've done with the levee system, the outer levee protection. A lot of people don't realize that, if the water gets in, we got a serious problem getting it out. So the fact is that these are very crucial stations for our drainage throughout our parish. And so some people tend to focus mainly on the interior, whereas this stuff protects you from the storm surges or other types of inundation. I really appreciate your work, and I'm very thankful that we have this.
I'd like to make the point also that Ms. Andre Ford's been working on this project for well over a year. She's going to continue to be the lead on the project. I'll be working with her mostly on the permitting side, maybe commenting some on the station as far as lessons learned from building all the others. But she's very capable, and she's continued to be the lead on this project, and she will continue forth with this.
Okay.
Just because it's under the levy system doesn't mean that she won't be leading the effort.
All right, Mr. Sam, we're going to move on to account 310, page 236, West Bank Hurricane Protection Levy.
Yeah, well, Grant promised me that we'll finish that up this year.
It'll roll
It seems
off.
the interest and stuff seems to keep popping up.
So this account, just for those of you all who are new, was the account we used to budget all of the projects under before we had the millage and other revenue
I
sources.
actually did a bond.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
this is, 310 was the holding fund for the bond, and we finished the projects, but there's been interest through the years, and I think it's going to go away this coming year.
Yeah.
But
All right.
it's part of the original bond.
Okay. Any questions on 310? Thank you, Mr. Sam.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you,
All right,
Councilman.
at this time, we're going to do a public hearing. File number 2024-0201 is now open for public hearing. If there's anyone who'd like to come up and speak regarding any of the items that we've discussed so far, please do so now. Please state your name and address for the record, and you have 3 minutes to speak. Seeing none, public hearing is closed. Any council discussion on any previous accounts that we have discussed? Seeing none, public hearing is closed. Oh, I did that backwards. All right, enterprise funds, count number 401, pages 245 through 254, wastewater. Mr. DeGeneres.
Thanks, Madam Chair, Council. I'm here to present the wastewater budget. I ask for your support.
Okay, this is account 401, the overall account. Does anyone have any questions? Account 401? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to account 401-420451, pages 247 through 248, administration. Can you just tell them just a little bit about what each account is?
Yeah, so we broke down administration is really my office with the clerks and all in that. Then you have collection and maintenance that handles all of the lines out in the field and the pump stations and everything. And then treatment handles all the treatment plants, which is the Llewellyn Pond, Hahnville plant, and Destrehan plant.
Okay. So any questions on administration? Seeing none, count number 401-420-452, pages 249, 250, collection and maintenance, as mentioned by Mr. DeGeneres. Any questions? Okay. Count number 401-420-453, pages 251 through 252, treatment. Any questions? Okay, thank you very much.
And, I mean, I know we went through to 254 on the 401, so that's the capital. If you have any questions on the capital, that's the last 2 pages. So 254 is the capital overall for. It's covered at the top in 401 where it goes all the way to
Yes.
254, but if anybody had any questions on the capital.
So y'all want
stuff.
to take a quick look at 254 and see if you have any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Mr. Pouliot.
I recognize that you did a pretty good presentation the last council meeting, if I can recall, and it kind of covered all of this, so I really don't have any specific questions. Thank you for the work you
Wanted to
did.
make sure.
Hey, Ms. O'Daniels.
Thank you, Ms. Chair. I believe you did answer this question last time. We were talking about the St. Rose Force Main and the opportunities to try to get the sewer on one side to be handled in one way and sewer on the other side of the CN
There's
Railroad on the
actually
other.
two projects.
Okay,
So there's a Turtle Pond lift station that we want to redo,
okay,
and also put a bigger force main to take it from really the airline area and everything, and bring it straight to the plant, so that would relieve everything on the south side of the tracks, because we take a lot of that water and keep it on that separate, so that should relieve a lot in St. Rose. We also are gonna do a separate force main that once Almedia Gardens, when it comes in, it's gonna tie in an existing station that's gonna come through that subdivision, tie into their new lift station, and from there, run that straight to Rue Landry, which would take some relief, because right now it's going across the tracks and then coming back across.
Right.
So that would cut a lot of that burden with pumps fighting each other, so that one should improve as well. So that one should happen pretty quickly. The other one, we're getting ready to start the design for the Turtle Pond force main and the lift station. So we've selected some engineers, we're working on their scoping right now, and we'll probably be presenting those contracts to the council either next meeting or sometime in November, late November.
and in the interim, when you're designing Turtle Pond, is there going to be a conflict, or you just anticipate the construction of the new subdivision will happen sometime after you're finished with Turtle Pond, or kind of at the same time?
Yeah, well, Turtle Pond, we're gonna hopefully get it designed probably middle of next year, and then probably get it out to bid. And the big issue is we're gonna go on the railroad right away, and if we have any issues with the railroad trying to put that pipeline in, really adjacent to the existing pipeline that's there now.
Right. And historically, there have been some sewer incidents in, like, closer to the CN Railroad and Riverview and those areas. You
I
anticipate
think
this?
we pretty much solved those. Our
Okay.
biggest issues are further down around Fourth Street, things like that, that when we have a lot of rain, we do overflow there from time to time, depending on how much rain we have. But I think we've gotten it away from most of the subdivisions. It's really, it overflows around the railroad tracks. So by putting in the new Turtle Pond force main, that should eliminate all of
Eliminate the
that.
pressure. All right, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Daniels. Ms. Wilson?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. The work on, with the Kindler lift station, so, what's the upcoming work
I
on
know that we had to redo the servitude maps when we met with all the homeowners. I don't think that one's been finalized yet. But I know that we're close. I know that we had to redo them. We have presented them back. I think we're just waiting to get them signed now. Once they're signed, then we can move forward with that station. It's fully designed. We're ready to go to bid. We're just trying to get that servitude signed off. And it was lumped in with the drainage servitudes too, so that's why it was taking a little bit longer to get that done.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Wilson. All right, that's it for you, Mr. DeGeneres. Next, we have count number 430, pages 255 through 268, Consolidated Waterworks District Number 1. Mr. Gordon.
Good morning, Greg Gordon, Department of Waterworks Director, here to present the 2025 operating and capital budget. Here to, if you have any questions about it, much like we just kind of did with wastewater, our operating budget detail for Waterworks is split up into an administrative, which is myself, Ricky Robert, who's head of operations, and the accounting side of things, Ms. Terry Vesmer, Mr. Nathan, billing and collection, overseen by Jessica Knockan. That's all obviously pretty self-explanatory. Meter reading, all the staff that go out and take all the readings and work the meter readings, the meter system, and get all the information. Distribution, those are all the field employees, and the plant, all the people dealing with production and treatment.
All right, thank you, Mr. Gordon. Any questions on the overall account 430? Okay, we're going to move on to 430-420, 541, pages 257 through 258, administration. Any questions on that one? Okay, seeing none. 430, 420, 542, pages Page 259, billing and collection. Any questions? Okay, seeing none, account number 430-420-543, pages 260 to 261, meter readers. All right, seeing none, count number 430-420-544, pages 262 through 263, distribution. Any questions? Okay, and last but not least, count number 430-420-545, pages 264 through 265, plant. Any questions? All right, seeing none, thank you, Mr. Gordon. Oh, hold that, Parish President Jewell.
I was just gonna, for the sake, just like Mr. David DeGeneres said, the capital projects are listed on 267 and 268.
Yeah, for next year, aside from wrapping up all the automatic meter reads and filling in some of the infrastructure, the bigger project, which will take a while to get the design done, is the West Bank declarifier upgrade, basically taking all of the guts out of the clarifier D plant and replacing it all. It's about a $2 million project. That's about that clarifier, and that whole treatment train is about 40% of the water treated at that plant, so it's a large renewal and replacement that needs to be done.
Mr. Daniels?
Thank you, Ms. Chair. Real quickly for the public, when do you anticipate the meters are all going to be switched out? Did you say next year?
So actually, that will be done. So Pedal Valve, which is dealing the second phase right now, they are about 99% done. So the next part of that, we have about 500 registers that need to be changed. Those are just the kind of the device that takes all the readings, changing those from a drive-by to a fixed base. And then we will be done with all of that. One of the things that we are doing, though, is we probably going to put up some more repeater infrastructure to fill in some gaps. Plus, we're also now, since we're transitioning to this fixed base system, we have to kind of get into the business of operating and maintaining the repeater towers. So we are kind of buying equipment and a lift and a number of other items so we can put those out there. They're great because we have the automatic read. However, Mother Nature and lightning has caused some complications, so we need to transition into being able to get those up and running quickly after that. The data is still all collected, but it comes to us in a big chunk. So that's what a lot of that project will be will be doing. Plus, actually, grants helped us get a Community Water Enrichment Fund grant for I think it's $150,000 to buy some more meters, just so we can always have backup meters too.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Daniels. Mr. Pillier?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Gordon, with the additional new technology, meter reading equipment, is the cost of the meter reading personnel and such going to go down?
It will go down, and what will happen is, so there's a couple of things that'll happen. One is, as the fixed base system becomes more operational 100%, a lot of some of those personnel will be transitioned back to the distribution crew. They used to be part of the distribution crew many years ago. They would cycle on and off with distribution, so you always had a couple extra hands to help with repairs and maintenance work. But because of the 3 different meter reading systems that existed, needed a lot of meter readers to go out because you had to hand read some, you had to drive by some you had fixed base. So with all of that, about 2 to 3 of them will start to go on the distribution crew. We are also, though, the meter readers, we have about 4 that will actually become more of a meter tech. working the new system, because the system does have some technological issues that constantly have to be dealt with.
Thank you, Mr. Gordon.
All right, thank you, Mr. Gordon. All right, we're going to move on to special revenue funds, account number 113, pages 205 through 210. Recreation, Mr. Foray.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the council, and Parish President Jew. I stand before you with the 2025 proposed budget. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, any questions on the overall? On 113, Ms. O'Daniels.
Looking at improvements of the buildings. Sorry. Okay. I'm going to pass. I thought I had a question about a capital improvement. It's a different account. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, then we'll move on to account number 113-450100, pages 207 through 208, recreation. Any questions from council members or other? Okay, on behalf of Councilman Fisher, I have a budget amendment that I'm going to make a motion for. It is to transfer $250,000 from the general fund 001 to Fund 113 Recreation, count number 450100, improvements other than buildings for the purpose of new Sarpy Park repairs and improvements. And it is my understanding that this one was also discussed with Parish President Jewell and Mr. Dewsome. So I'm going to make a motion. I need a second. Ms. O'Daniels, do you want to speak on this particular motion?
Yes. I do.
Okay, go ahead.
Mr. Fisher contacted me about this. We all started talking about the new Sarpy Park. A lot of people in my district enjoy using the new Sarpy Park, and we're really excited about Mr. Fisher's initiative to make these improvements and provide additional recreation opportunities for not only people in New Sarpy, but as well as children from St. Rose that enjoy recreating there with their friends. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. O'Daniels. Parish President Jewell.
Thank you, Chairwoman, and I have spoken to Councilman Fisher. I think we ought to specify potentially in the amendment that it is for the 9th Street Park
Okay.
and not for any of the other parks
Yeah.
that are in New Sarpy.
I'll definitely add that. Ms. Pillier.
Thank you, Ms. Chair. I just noticed, and I'm going back to the narrative, and it has a West Bank boat launch, and it's a general fund transfer for $4 million. I was under the impression, I don't know the mechanics.
No,
We
Mr.
had.
Pillier, let's stick to this motion.
Oh, I'm sorry.
When we get past this motion, I'll call you. You can request to speak. Okay. So we have a motion on the floor. I'm going to repeat that. And a second by Ms. O'Daniels to transfer $250,000 from General Fund 001 to Fund 113 Recreation 450100, improvements other than buildings for the purpose of new Sarpy Park repairs and improvements, specifically the 9th Street Park in New Sarpy. All right. Council members, you can cast your votes. And that passes unanimously. Now, Mr. Pillier, go ahead with your
Excuse
comments.
my being out of order previously. But, the question I have is, the West Bank, I mean, it's a really good facility, and a lot of people are waiting to see this happen, and I've kind of followed it. But I recall some money from CPRA funding this as well. So we got a general fund transfer of $4 million. Does the CPRA money factor into this anyhow?
Grant, I'll let you take that.
So in that total 4 million, we are including the 1,841,000, I think is the grant amount, and the rest of it is the general fund transfer. Yeah, so it's like 1.2, we're right under 1.2 from the general fund. The rest is that money.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pillier. Ms. Wilson?
Thank you, Madam Chair. The volleyball court said the Eddie Dufresne Center, so is they're upgrading the courts? Or,
No, we have no courts. This is going to
Right.
be sand volleyball. This is going to be
Oh, the
out.
sand.
Yeah, so we can have outdoor leagues for our youth, adult, and senior population.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Council members, any other questions? Mr. Daniels?
Yes, thank you, Ms. Chair. Could you tell us a little bit more about the gymnasium project?
Okay, well, we had started this process probably 6 or 7 years ago, and then things happened beyond our control. So if you look at the National Park and Recreation recommended gyms for a parish outside, it's one gym for every 8,000 people. We currently have 3 gyms we totally operate. That's the Edward A. Dufresne Community Center, 2 courts, and Sacred Heart. Now, we do have a user agreement facility with the school system, but a lot of times, some of those activities supersede our program, rightfully so. They own the facility. Well, as many of you know, like today, for instance, Triad is going on at the Edward A. Dufresne Center. Then we have a Senior Fall Fest. So, you know, all week, we cannot practice basketball. We just finished registration, picking teams, and then we a week behind for practice. So if you look at that recommendation, we should have close to 7 or maybe 8 gyms. Now, we have 2, but you're looking at Veterans Luncheon, you're looking at Christmas Luncheon. So we're our own worst enemy as far as to use our own court. We have so many activities, to no fault of anybody's, but it's a multi-use facility, and we realize that. We have 100 teams strong in our basketball program, which is phenomenal. Our volleyball program is vibrant. So a lot of times, once the season starts, we don't have the ability to continue to practice throughout the year. Now, this is the first step in putting some money aside for that. This was also outlined in our updated master plan. It was first mentioned along with the boat launch. Our 2 greatest needs in this parish, boat launch and more gym space, outlined in our 2012 master plan and also in the update, because we have not done a good job. We started working on the boat launch 17 years ago, and it seems like
The
we're
effort has been
finally
there.
getting there. You know, we're fixing to cross the goal line, and we owe a lot to, we changed running backs, and our running back is about to cross the goal line. So we're excited about those projects. I know it looks kind of, you look at it, but some of these things have been planned, like the dog park. We should have 1 dog park for every 25,000 residents, and we're finally going to have a state-of-the-art dog park right in a recreation hub that we've creating with West Bank Bridge Park, Edward A. Dufresne Community Center, our spray park, outdoor volleyball, now a dog park. The roadway will connect our soccer complex at Ashton. So this will be wonderful for our parish and our participants.
Well, I appreciate that, and I just want to say from a business standpoint,
Yeah.
I tried to schedule a meeting for a large group for the last 3 weeks, and everything is booked. So, not only recreation, but the fact that we are so active in our parish, it's evident to me we need more space, and I know a lot of people are going to say, oh, another gym, another what, but this is important not only from the aspect of our children and their welfare, as well as us being able to meet. We just have no space available for us to even meet as a public group. And so I wanted to put that out there as well. I think it'll be beneficial in a lot of ways. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. O'Daniels. Ms. Wilson?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. The West Bank Bridge Park revitalization, on the engineering fees, so what is that for 102? And the A&E fees on page 206.
Can you repeat
This
that?
probably
Is the
Phase
West
2.
Bank Park
That's going to be phase 2.
revitalization?
That's going to be phase 2. As soon as we finish East Bank, we'll start engineering and designing phase 2 to turf the other 3 fields we have and redesign the park.
Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Wilson. Parish President Jewell?
I just wanted to mention on the gymnasium, we are not looking to build a East Bank Community Center. You know, we want it to be more, as much actual gym floor space as possible. You know, very little space outside of that dedicated. We hope to get like 3 basketball courts at least in there, because we have a lot of situations, especially during basketball season, where when games are going on and other age groups are practicing, they're practicing outside, they're practicing in the dark. And then just the overall gym space helps alleviate our need for other spaces outside of parish-owned property. So we think it'd be a good thing, but I just wanted to clarify that it wasn't going to be like a community center like we have on the West Bank. The West Bank Community Center is really a multi-use type building. It's just going to be more basketball courts and actual gymnasium space than anything.
Councilman Pilier.
Thank you, Ms. Chair. I know that there are people who believe that money that we spend on recreation would be better spent elsewhere, and I know some people are saying drainage. I am a big proponent of fixing drainage in this parish. I spent a lot of energy on it. I think we emphasize the need to do that. However, in talking to a lot of people in my area, in District 3, I was surprised. There's a lot of older people and a lot of younger people. You'd expect the younger people to support the recreation. But there are a lot of older people that see the value in this, and they are absolutely in support. So I just want to say, this is important to the parish, and I support what we're doing, despite the fact that I know we have to spend a lot of money on drainage, and I will support that any chance I get. So I thank you for what you do.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pilier. All right, we're going to move on to account number 113-450112, page 209, summer camp. Any questions for Mr. Foray? All right. Seeing none, thank you, Mr. Foray.
Construction fund.
Oh, pardon me. Count number 302, pages 234 through 235, recreation facilities construction. It's under the capital projects tab.
These funds are acquired through developments in our parish. We can either take the money or land. Lately, for the last 10 years, we've been taking the money, and one of these projects may come over budget. We utilize the funds in that area to finish the funding of that particular project.
It's subdivision development.
Yeah.
Yeah, when a subdivision is developed in our parish, the developer has the option of contributing monies or land, and it is the parish government's choice as to which one at that time that we're willing to accept. Those monies are put into this account until such time as they can be used for the area the subdivision is in, parks in the area. All right, any questions on account number 302? All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Appreciate
Foray.
it.
I'm going to go do a public hearing. File number 2024-0201 is now open for public hearing. If there's anyone who would like to come up and speak regarding any of the items we have discussed so far, please do so now. Please state your name and address for the record, and you have 3 minutes to speak. Okay, seeing none, public hearing is closed. Any council discussion on anything thus far? Okay, seeing none, we're going to move on to general fund. I'm going to try and roll through these last accounts pretty quickly because we only have a quorum here exactly, and some of us have other obligations this afternoon, so we're going to try and end this at noon. General fund, account number 001-400140, page 82, public information, Ms. Francesca Blanchard.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, members of the council. I'm here to present the budget as submitted, and I'm here to answer any questions if you have any.
Thank you. All right, council members, any questions on the public information account? Okay, we're going to move on. Account 001-400-635, pages 121 through 122, cable TV administration.
I'm also here to answer any questions on that budget if you have any.
So this is the government cable TV channels account.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Okay, any questions on cable TV administration? Seeing none, we're going to move on Count number 001-400-530, pages 99 through 100. Thank you, Ms. Blanchard. Purchasing, Ms. Brenda Campo.
Good morning, council members. Here to present the 2025 operating budget. Happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Thank you. Any questions for Ms. Campos? Thank you, Ms. Campos.
Thank you.
Count number 001-400-540, page 101, Personnel, Ms. Dana Parker.
Good morning, council members. This is my operating budget for personnel for 2025. There are no significant changes. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Any questions for Ms. Parker on personnel? Thank you, Ms. Parker.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Count number 001-400-545, pages 102 through 103, Legal Services, Mr. Ubb.
Thank you. On behalf of the Department of Legal Services, we present our budget. As you'll see, there's no real significant changes. The only increase was for the document management system that the administration has implemented over the past year and trying to wrap that up in the 2025 budget.
Thank you, Mr. Ubb. Any questions for Mr. Ubb? Seeing none, thank you.
Thank you.
Count number 001-400611, pages 109 through 111, Coastal Zone Management, Mr. Albert.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Our budget is effectively the same as the previous year, and that is true for all three versions of the planning and zoning budget.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Albert specific to Coastal Zone Management? All right. I skipped it. Gotta go back to it. I didn't say it at all, did I? No. All right. Count number 001-400-610, pages 106 through 108, Planning and Zoning. Mr. Albert?
Same as
Same
before.
thing?
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Any questions on planning and zoning? Seeing none, we'll move on. Count number 001-400-612, page 112, ICC Building Codes. Mr. Albert,
Again, same as,
can you explain a little bit what this account is?
yes, this is primarily the account of money moving in and out for code compliance, building codes. This is what we pay to South Central for their services with building permits, building inspections, and actually a large part of our code enforcement at the moment. They do the inspections to determine if a building is derelict. They testify in court for us. That number that you see there is not a truly indicative cost of the program cost because we intake permit fees that supplant that.
Right. Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Albert on ICC Building Codes, which is just a fun covering the ins and outs of building codes and compliance? Seeing none. Thank you, Mr. Albert. We're going to move on.
Thank you for your continued support.
Count number 001-400-625, pages 115 through 116, Information Technology, Mr. Ayo.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Council, Parish President. I'm here to present our information technology budget. It's relatively flat, a little bit less than last year. One notable change is we are looking to add a new employee in our department to manage what we call the enterprise systems. We kind of like AssetWorks, the contract lifecycle management systems that we have. We're trying to be more ownership in supporting some of these resources at the request of some of the departments like Public Works. So we are actively looking at that and then evaluating that role, but that's mainly the only change. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Any questions for Mr. Ayo? Thank you, Mr. Ayo.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
All right, account number 001-466, pages 117 through 119, GIS, Mr. Martinez.
Good morning, members of the council, Parish President Jewell. Before you is my 2025 operating budget. It remains pretty much the same with a slight increase in equipment and field supplies of $14,000. So, other than that, it's the same.
Any questions for Mr. Martinez? Okay, seeing none. Thank you very much, Louis.
Thank you.
Account number 001-400-640, pages 123 through 125, General Government Buildings, Mr. Messerly.
Madam Chair, Parish President, my budget is in front of you. If you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to ask them.
Any questions for Mr. Messerly? Thank you, Mr. Messerly. Moving on, count 001-400-675, pages 128 through 129, Risk Management. Ms. Rochelle Champagne.
Hello, I am here to answer any questions for y'all for the 2025 submitted risk management budget.
Any questions for Ms. Champagne? All right, thank you, Ms. Champagne.
Thank y'all very much.
Count number 001-400-680, Grants Administration. It's Ms. Chasson's department, but she is out on maternity leave, so we have Ms. Nicole Baracco here.
Good morning, Madam Chair, Council. I am here to present the Grants Office operating budget, if you have any questions.
Any questions for Ms. Baracco? Okay, we're going to move on to your other one, which is 001-400-685 on page 131, which is Elevation Grant Program. Any questions? Keep up the good work.
Yeah, thank you.
Mr. Pilier.
Yes, ma'am. Thanks, Ms. Chair. There was a resolution I see introduced or will be introduced for some additional 14+9 elevations. Is that included in here?
So basically, those are all reimbursable funds, so we just kind of have a budget that we can get these properties moving, and that money gets reimbursed to us. That agreement has not been executed yet, so it's technically not ours. But just to give you guys some updates, this year so far, we have 33 properties that started construction, and quite a few of them are already complete. So we're moving pretty quickly with these.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Thank you. Don't see any.
Thank you.
Capital Projects Funds.
Gotcha. That's right.
Oh, that is you.
Yeah.
Apologize.
That's okay.
It was a little further down, so I didn't see it.
That's okay.
Fund 313,
thought I
pages
was gonna have to-
239 through 240, LCDBG Public Facilities Construction.
Those are all basically grant-funded projects that we have to keep in a non-interest-bearing account, so that's why they're all budgeted there.
The actual grant program requires the separate account. Any questions? Seeing none, thank you very much.
Thank you.
General Fund, account number 001-410-710, page 135, Emergency Preparedness, Mr. Tosday.
Good morning, Madam Chair, President Jewell, council members. Before you have the three budgets for the Department of Emergency Preparedness. I'd appreciate your support. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
All right. Any questions on emergency preparedness? Seeing none, we're going to move on. Count 001-410-711, pages 136 through 138, Emergency Preparedness Subsidiary.
Yeah, same as before. No big changes to our operating budget this year.
Just a little bit about the difference between the two.
Yeah, so our emergency preparedness budget is mainly like our day staff, just really staff costs. The budget you're looking at now is our operational costs, and then the 712 budget is our 24-hour coverage, which covers the expenses of our shift workers.
Okay, thank you. Any questions on emergency preparedness subsidiary? Seeing none, count number 001-410-712, page 139, EOC 24-hour coverage. Any questions? Okay, thank you, Mr. Tostin.
All right, thank you all.
Count number 001-430160, pages 141 through 142, coroner, Dr. Brian Brogel. I think we have Chief Barry Minnick here.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning to all. Barry Minnick, Chief Investigator of the Coroner's Office. I do have a couple of items I think it's most appropriate to talk to Mr. Dewsome and not take it up your time now. I think they can be handled that way. But I will be back for the rest of the hearing, so any questions that I may be able to answer for you right now?
Any questions on coroner's budget? Okay, I don't see any.
I hesitate to come back on Halloween, with our business, but just to let you know, we do twice as much mental health contacts, interactions than we do deaths. Right now, through September, we've had 320 death interactions that we've completed, but we also are at 750, little more north of 750 mental health interactions. There's a lot of need in the parish for mental health, all over southeast Louisiana, but in our parish, facilities to help people in crisis. So, just wanted to let you know that, that our business is not just dealing with death.
Okay, so you'll be getting with Mr. Deuce
Yeah,
and
I
Parish
will.
President Jewell?
I
Okay,
will,
well, we will
before the
see you.
next meeting on the 31st.
Okay, well, we'll see you then. Thank you,
Okay.
Chief Minnick.
Thank you.
All right, moving on, account 001-430180, pages 143 through 145, animal control. Ms. Dr. Gina Troxel.
Good morning, Council. So our budget supports 9 employees. We last added an employee 7 years ago. We still have sufficient staffing. And this budget allows 1 animal control officer to be on call 24/7 to support the sheriff's office. The only addition is 1 vehicle, that is $50,000. Do you have any questions?
Any questions for Dr. Troxler? Mr. Pilier?
Thank you, Mrs. Chair. Dr. Troxler, the position you talked about, that round-the-clock officer, has that been filled yet?
Yes, it's our officers. We have 4 animal control officers. They all rotate being on call. So this budget supports that, and this department has existed like that for some time to support the sheriff's office after hours emergency animal response.
Thank you.
Ms. O'Daniels? Thank you, Mr. Pilier.
Thank you, Ms. Chair. Dr. Troxler, could you clarify on after hours? We have some confusion sometimes about after hours. What are the after-hour services? When does animal control intervene versus, strays? Just a little quick on that.
Animal control's open 8:30 to 4, Monday through Friday. If we have an after-hours response, it involves the sheriff's office. So that looks like a bite case, a rabies vector, like a bat, a raccoon lingering near a public area. We have to remove those. And any severe injuries to a domestic animal. Not I have a limp, but I may die.
So that's when.
Not our owned animal, a stray animal.
So that's when animal control would actually be
Yes.
called out.
Yes.
And if you have a regular stray animal, not necessarily on the weekend or after hours.
So yes, because what we promote is to message us on social media, hey, I see this German Shepherd in Willowdale, and we post the picture, and we can usually get them reunited in the field within an hour. Instead of spending tax dollars to dispatch, bring them in, then the owner has to come pay fees to get them out during the week. We can usually facilitate that.
Thanks for that clarification.
Yes.
Thank you, Ms. O'Daniels. Any other questions for Dr. Troxler? Okay, seeing
Thank
none,
you.
Thank you. Okay. Moving on, count number 001-430225, page 146, Health and Safety Rehab. Ms. Diaz.
Well, thank you. This is the first of 12 budgets that we have, and it's all by program area. So health and safety rehab, local funds that help us to do minor home repairs for individuals.
All right. Any questions on health and safety rehab for Ms. Diaz? Okay. Seeing none, we'll move on to count number 001-430226, page 147, Revitalization Fund Program. Ms. Diaz.
This is a fund where we deposit profit from our mortgage assistance program, and we use it to supplement the health and safety program.
Any questions on health and safety rehab? Sorry, Revitalization Fund Program. All right, moving on. Count number 001-430227, page 148, Housing Preservation Grant. Ms. Diaz.
This is a federal fund through USDA Rural Competitive Grant that we receive, and hopefully we'll continue to have that flowing.
Any questions on Housing Preservation Grant? Okay, account number 001-430230, page 149, HUD/Home Rental Assistance. Ms. Diaz.
This is part of the consortium with Jefferson Parish that allows us to do more substantial home repairs for individuals that have significant damage to their home.
Any questions on HUD Home Rental Assistance?
This past year, we negotiated access to a resource that Jefferson Parish had for rental assistance because it was a vital need in this community. And so we have access to $350,000 that we can draw down over 7 years, and maybe even more. We've already used $100,000 of it for this year. So.
All right. Seeing no questions, count number 001-430231, pages 150 through 152, Community Services.
That's the main budget for my department. It does include some line items for local emergency assistance.
Okay, any questions on Community Services? Seeing none, count number 001-430232, page 153, Energy Assistance.
This is a federal formula grant for the LEHEAP program, where we're able to provide a credit or emergency assistance for light bills.
Any questions on energy assistance? Seeing none, we'll move on. Account number 001-430233, page 154, Summer Feeding.
This is our summer program where we bus kids to 2 sites and provide a hot lunch during the summer months.
Any questions on summer feeding? Seeing none. Count number 001-430234, pages 155 through 156, Community Service Centers. Ms. Diaz.
We currently run Kelowna Community Center, St. Rose Community Center, and we're doing an outreach program in Boutique.
Any questions on the Community Service Centers? All right, moving on. Account number 001-430235, page 157, Community Services Subgrants. Ms. Diaz.
This allows me to do some fundraising, and so we have subgrants where we can track the income for all of those donations that we receive in the department.
Any questions on the subgrants account? Okay, 001-430246, page 158, LAHEAP Administration. Ms. Diaz.
It's the administrative portion that we receive for doing the LAHEAP program.
Can you tell them a little bit about what that program is?
That's,
Just briefly.
it's a percentage of the overall allocation of the formula grant.
No, what the actual program does.
What, oh, the
LAHEAP.
LAHEAP Low Income Home Energy Program?
Yeah.
Yes. It's,
Gives funding for,
is for the light bills.
Thank you.
The one I spoke about under energy assistance, which was more direct, that's where the client funds go, and this is where the administrative funds go.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I didn't
no,
understand the
that's
question.
okay. All right, any questions on the HEAP administration? Okay, moving on, 001-430247 CSBG administration, Ms. Diaz.
This is our community services block grant, which funds the overhead portion, salaries for the caseworkers who work with the emergency assistance, or at least a portion of those salaries.
Okay, any questions on CSBG administration?
Yes, so we have basically program activities, and under those, the community service block grant, it's broken down into direct services, and that we fund the positions that do direct services, and then the administrative supervisory portion.
Okay, seeing no questions on administration, we'll move on to 001-430248, page 160, CSBG program activities, which Ms. Diaz just mentioned.
Yeah, which has a portion of that is for direct assistance to clients.
Any questions on the CSBG program activities? All right. Account number 001-430250, page 161, home program. Ms.
Okay,
Diaz.
we had the HUD Home rental assistance, and then the HUD Home, which is the property.
The rehab.
Support to clients who need home repairs.
Yeah. Any questions on the home program?
Social services is quite complex, huh? We have so many pots of money. It's like putting together a big puzzle.
All right, moving on, account number 001-430258, page 162.
LWAP is.
LWAP,
is
low income
It's
water
ended.
assistance.
That program, I think it was in there because we had some carryover into this year. I'll ask the accountants about that, but it's about a tracking for those last few dollars. But that was a one-time program using some of those COVID funds. So that's no longer for this year.
Ms. O'Daniels.
That's it, I think.
Thank you, Ms. Chair. Ms. Diaz, knee-jerk reaction. What's the biggest need in this parish right now?
Well, that's a big question, but I would say, in the direct assistance arena, rental assistance, because rents have really jacked up since Hurricane Ida, the repaired properties, and people are really struggling to pay, $1,200 or more for a small apartment. So that's been a tremendous need.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Any other questions on LWAP? All right, 001-465230, pages 167 through 168. I'm sorry, it is economic
Yeah, I think we're
development.
done
Thank
with
you, Ms.
me.
Diaz.
Okay.
Mr. Corey Fauché.
Good morning, everyone. I'm happy to present a budget that is just about the same as it was last year, so I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Fauché on economic development? Seeing none, we'll move on. Count number 001-465235, page 169, Tourist Information Center.
Same story. It's about the same as it was last year, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
So we don't actually have an information center anymore.
We have,
We
have an office at Destrehan Plantation, the
Plantation, right.
visitor center. That was an agreement we entered into a long time ago. Yeah.
Yeah, some of us may remember when we had the little building
Little
underneath the
building.
bridge on the West Bank Bridge Park, but it's
But
now,
but that account handles all of those.
Yeah.
Not expenses with that, but everything that we do to attract visitors to the parish.
yeah. Any questions for Sephora on Tourist Information Center? Seeing none, thank you,
Great,
Mr.
thank you.
Fauché. Yeah. All right, we're going to do a quick public hearing. File number 2024-0201 is now open for public hearing. If there's anyone who would like to come up and speak regarding any of the items that we have discussed so far, please do so now. Please state your name and address for the record, and you have 3 minutes to speak. Okay, seeing none, public hearing is closed. Any council discussion on things that we've covered thus far? Great, seeing none, we're going to move on. Special Revenue Funds, count number 107, pages 183 through 184, Workforce Investment Act. Mr. Scott.
Thank you and good morning, Madam Chair, council members, President Jewell. Before you is the requested budget for the Workforce Innovations and Opportunity Act. I'll be more than happy to answer any questions you have.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Scott? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on. Thank you, Mr. Scott.
Thank you.
General Fund, count number 001-400-130, page 81, Ordinances and Proceedings. Mr. Dewsome.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. In these next several are all me, so I'll make this the lightning round of the agenda here. But most of these items are just one or two accounts, just because they all fall within the general fund. So this first one is ordinances proceedings, and it's exactly as you would think it would be, what we pay to advertise all of our stuff for our ordinances and proceedings.
All right, any questions for Mr. Dewsome on ordinance and proceedings? Okay, seeing none. Count number 001-400-150, page 83, Police Jury Association. Mr. Dewsome.
And that's our association dues to the Police Jury Association as well as RPC.
Okay. Any questions? Okay. Count number 001-400-290, page 93, Ward Courts. Mr. Dewsome.
That is our Justice of the Peace and constables.
Questions? Seeing none. 001-400-420, page 97, Elections.
It is exactly as you would say. It's to pay for elections.
Any questions about elections account? Okay, seeing none. Count number 001-400-510, page 98, Finance.
And that's the budget for the Finance Department. The only changes are just cost of living and in merit, as well as health insurance, stuff like that.
Questions for Mr. Dewsome on Finance? All right, thank you. Count number 001-400-550, page 104, Taxation-Assessor.
And this is a very minor account that in my 17 years, I've never actually used this, but we're required to set aside funds for any litigation that may occur relating to the assessor having to defend any of the various millages that are under us. So this is the general funds portion. So because it's a general fund, it has to be separated out as a separate account. But to this day, we've never actually used it, but we got to have it.
Mm-hmm. All right, any questions on Taxation-Assessor? Okay, 001-400-560, page 105, Taxation-Collector.
And this is the cost of what we pay to the sales tax office for tax collections.
Okay. Questions? Okay. Count number 001-400-620, page 113 through 114, Data Processing.
And data processing is essentially an extension of the Finance Department. This is where all of our hosting services are paid for our accounting software. Also, our new payroll system is paid through here and stuff like that. So that's the majority of this account.
Any questions on data processing? Count number 001-400-630, page 120, Research and Investigations.
And the primary item here is the annual audit that we pay every year, as well as some minor investment services and stuff like that we use, but this is primarily the audit.
Okay. Any questions on Research and Investigations? Seeing none. Count number 001-400-650, page 126, Retirement System Contributions.
And this is a requirement for all millages that, obviously, any district that receives a millage, a portion of the millage collected has to go to fund the various statewide retirement systems. So that's what this amount represents out of the general fund.
Any questions? Okay, count number 001-400-670, page 127, Retired Employees Group Insurance.
And this is the portion that we pay for our retiree group insurance.
Thank you. Any questions on Retired Employees Group Insurance? All right, Count number 001-410530, page 134, juvenile.
And this is the cost for the juvenile program, the ankle bracelets and housing of any juveniles if need be.
Any questions on the juvenile account? All right. Count number 001-410800, page 140, motor vehicle.
And this is what we pay towards, in order to keep the Office of Motor Vehicles across the street, we kind of give them some funding to run their office.
Yes. Any questions on motor vehicle? Seeing none, account number 001-465260, page 170, Veterans Administration.
And this is the portion that we pay towards the veterans officer's salary.
The office within the courthouse?
Yes.
Yes. Any questions on Veterans Administration? All right, count number 001-465290, page 171, Public Housing.
This is the per diem that we pay for our housing authority members when they attend the meetings.
It's just a board meeting, board members per diem.
Correct.
Any questions? All right, count 001-475500, page 172, debt service.
This is another very minor one that we haven't spent my entire time here, but we're required to hold some money aside related to our bonds, just in case, if there's any paying agent fees or whatever, but to this date, we haven't spent it, but we gotta have it.
Any questions? Okay, 001-480000, page 173, transfers.
And this is just a summary of all the transfers prior to any transfers we did today. Obviously, this page will be updated, but all transfers from the general fund to the various departments that are within the budget.
Right. Questions? Okay, we're going to move on to special revenue funds. Count number 110, pages 185 through 189, criminal court fund. Mr. Dewsome.
Okay, and these are funds that we really can't do anything with. We are just responsible for maintaining. The criminal court fund is just a kind of an accounting of all the court fines and fees and how it's spread among the district attorney, the sheriff, and the district courts. So the first page, the first one that you read off is the summary, and then it breaks it down into the three areas that the funding goes to.
Okay, council members, any questions on criminal court fund? Seeing none, account 110-400-205, page 186, district court.
This is all the same.
All together. Okay, also account number 110-400-235, page 187, district attorney.
Correct, same.
Also, count number 110-410-100, page 188, sheriff.
Same.
Okay, any questions on that grouping? And then, seeing none, count number 110-485000, page 189, transfers.
And this is just if there's any funding left over, then we try to pay ourselves for doing some of the work, all the accounting work for them, so. Our little fee, I guess you could say.
Any questions on transfers? All right. Count 120, page 217, government buildings, M&O. Mr. Dewsome.
This is essentially, we were required, this is for the 911 ad valorem tax. Since we handle the accounting for them, we still have to show their funds coming in, so we just show the total amount that they're expected to receive and then going right back out to them, so it's essentially a pass-through.
Any questions on government buildings, M&O? Seeing none, we're going to move on to capital projects funds. Count number 316, page 241, front foot assessment capital projects. Mr. Dewsome.
And this is another fund that's been around since before President Jewell was born, with most of these funds sitting in there that long. This was just funds in different areas that were collected in order to take care of paving or water or sewer. And they can be used specifically for the areas that they were collected for.
Thank you. Council members, any questions? Okay, seeing none, we're going to do our final public hearing. File number 2024-0201 is now open for public hearing. If there's anyone who would like to come up and speak regarding any of these items that we have discussed so far, please do so now. Please state your name and address for the record. You have 3 minutes to speak. Seeing none, public hearing is closed. Any council discussion? Parish President Jewell.
Thank you, Chairwoman. I just want to thank all of the directors who are here today to present their budgets, and thanks for everything y'all do running the day-to-day operations of the parish.
Okay, seeing no council discussion, are there any questions or any additional amendments to be made during today's hearing? Okay, announcement. Ordinance introduced for publication and public hearing on Thursday, October 31st, 2024, 1 p.m., and Monday, November 4th, 2024, 6 p.m., Council Chambers Courthouse, Hornville, number 2024-0201, an ordinance to approve and adopt the appropriation of funds for the St. Charles Parish Consolidated Operating and Capital Budget for fiscal year 2025. Adjournment. A motion and a second is needed to adjourn. We have a motion by Ms. O'Daniel, second by Mr. Pillier. Please cast your votes to adjourn. And that passes unanimously. Have a great day. We are officially adjourned.